Hello friends, in this video we are going to discover the top 10 best cities to visit in Canada. Kindly make sure to hit the subscribe button and press the bell icon before we start this video about the 10 cities to visit in Canada. Also post your favorite Canadian cities among the top cities to visit in Canada with family or friends in the comments below. I'd love to read them and I'm sure others would too. Canada is a large and diverse country with plenty to offer. From the bustling city life of Toronto to the quiet serenity of rural Newfoundland, Canada has something for everyone. And while there are many great cities in Canada to visit, not all Canadian cities are equal. As the second largest country in the world, Canada offers a wide variety of landscapes, climates, and tourist attractions to choose from. In other words, it's safe to say that there are no bad cities in Canada to visit. Having said that, there are a few Canadian cities that stand out from other cities. We've carefully selected the Canadian cities on this list because each one features something spectacular that you can't find anywhere else in the country, or possibly even the world. From the biggest city in Canada to the country's largest national park to the capital city, we believe each of the Canadian cities on this list deserve a place on your travel bucket list, and we can't wait to tell you why. Find the top places to visit in Canada on your next trip with our list of the top 10 best cities to visit in Canada. These are top 10 best cities to visit in Canada. Ranking Canadian cities, and what they offer for tourists, may sound like a mission impossible as we all have our personal favorites. Yet, some cities in Canada are so exceptionally beautiful that they should be on everyone's bucket list. These are our favorite top 10 cities to visit in Canada. Number 10 on the list of best cities to visit in Canada is Halifax, Nova Scotia. One of the best cities in the Maritimes has to be Halifax. It's known as a city that is easily accessible by foot, making it a lot of fun to wander around, exploring the different neighborhoods without setting out a formal itinerary. A good place to start out is to head to the Halifax Peninsula for a walk along the 4-kilometer boardwalk winding along the waterfront, which is bustling with activity in the summer months. Be sure to check out the Canadian Museum of Immigration, Cable Wharf and the Maritime Museum of the Atlantic along the way. The 16-acre Halifax Public Gardens on the city's famous Spring Garden Road is a sanctuary in the city. Just a short walk away is the Halifax Citadel National Historic Site of Canada, a 19th-century fort with exceptional views and the opportunity to learn more about the city's history. Number 9 on the list of best cities to visit in Canada is Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. There's an exciting, youthful vibe about Saskatoon, Saskatchewan's largest city, that contributed to its well-deserved spot on this list of Canada's best cities. One of Saskatoon's surprising claims to fame is that it's said to boast the highest number of restaurants per capita of any city in the country. There are many options for those who want to experience fresh flavors grown right in Saskatchewan. The city has also put a lot of work into building a strong arts and cultural scene. Live music, theater, modern art galleries, and public art installations are just a few of the attractions you'll find when exploring the city's artistic side. The sky in Saskatoon is unlike anywhere else. Whether you're catching a sunset or simply spotting shapes in the clouds, you'll quickly understand why Saskatoon is dubbed the land of the living skies. Number 8 on the list of best cities to visit in Canada is St. John's, Newfoundland. Arguably one of the most underrated Canadian cities on this list, St. John's is a city simply unlike any other in Canada. From the local lingo and distinct Newfoundland accent to the colorful houses and the rugged, natural beauty of the coast, visiting St. John's almost feels like visiting an entirely different country, in the best of ways. As the easternmost city in North America, St. John's has played several important roles throughout Canada's history. Check out Signal Hill, where Marconi received the first transatlantic wireless signal, and the spectacular museum The Rooms, to learn about St. John's importance in Canada's historic wars and battles, before Newfoundland was even officially part of Canada. Visitors should also make time to explore the coast. Whale watching and puffin viewing tours leave from just outside of town. Number 7 on the list of best cities to visit in Canada is Victoria, British Columbia. The Canadian city of Victoria is about as close to a bit of Old England as you're ever likely to find this side of the Atlantic. Situated on Vancouver Island's south end, its mild climate is anything but typical for Canada and is far more akin to Britain, leading to its popularity not only as a vacation destination, but also a place to retire. The city's most iconic building, the majestic Fairmont Empress, founded in 1904, also happens to serve what is probably Canada's most authentic afternoon tea experience. Other highlights of a visit include exploring the city's inner harbor, with its lengthy promenade, the lovely Bouchard Gardens, which is especially lovely in spring, and the Royal BC Museum, with its large collections related to the country's cultural and natural history. Number 6 on the list of best cities to visit in Canada is Montreal, Quebec. Since being established in 1642 as a French mission station, Montreal, or Montreal as it was back then, has risen in importance as both a world-class commercial and a cultural center. Today, not only is it Canada's second-largest city, it's also the world's second biggest French-speaking city, surpassed only by Paris. As big as it is, Montreal has, unlike many equally large cities in North America, managed to preserve not only its unique character, but also many of its oldest buildings and neighborhoods. The best places to get a feeling for Old Montreal are in Vieux-Montréal, the heart of the original old colonial town, with its attractive old townhomes, and the equally picturesque Old Port, or Vieux-Port, with its splendid promenade. Number 5 on the list of best cities to visit in Canada is Ottawa, Ontario. Oh, Canada, it's hard not to feel extra patriotic when you're in the nation's capital of Ottawa. If you're a history buff, Ottawa will have you swooning in no time. A guided sightseeing tour of Parliament Building on Parliament Hill will give you a peek into the world of Canadian government, and the building itself is quite the masterpiece. The city is also home to some of the best museums and galleries in the country. The Canadian War Museum explores the history of Canada's military and the major events and conflicts that shaped the country as we know it today. And that's just the tip of the cultural iceberg. There's also the National Gallery of Canada, the Canadian Museum of History, the Canadian Museum of Nature, and the Canadian Aviation and Space Museum, to name a few. Number 4 on the list of best cities to visit in Canada is Calgary, Alberta. Welcome to Canada's Wild West. Calgary, Alberta is home to the famous Calgary Stampede, a week-long festival featuring rodeo events, concerts, special activities, and exhibitions galore. More than 1 million visitors head to Cowtown every year in early July to celebrate Calgary's farming and ranching heritage, making it one of the biggest festivals in the entire country. But there's much more to Calgary than horses and cowboy hats. You can hop back in time and experience life as a pioneer at Heritage Park Historical Village, take in the city views at the revolving restaurant atop the Calgary Tower, or meander along the Bow River through the 50-acre Prince's Island Park. If you're planning a trip, odds are good that you'll have great weather. Number 3 on the list of best cities to visit in Canada is Quebec City, Quebec. With horse-drawn carriages clip-clopping along the cobblestone streets of old Quebec City, it's easy to feel as though you've jumped back in time in this historic city. Overlooking the St. Lawrence River, Quebec City is a French-speaking city that is rich in culture and history. Most visitors are drawn to Vieux-Quebec, the fortified city core that features the aforementioned cobblestone streets, lined with boutiques, cafes, and restaurants. The castle-like Fairmont-le-Château Frontenac is an iconic Quebec City landmark and is well worth exploring, even if you aren't lucky enough to be staying as a guest. Lovers of art and all things ornate will feel like kids in a candy store in Quebec City. Beauty is everywhere you look, from architectural details to exceptional museums. The Museum of Civilization is one of the most visited museums in Canada and takes you behind the scenes of the history of Quebec. Number 2 on the list of best cities to visit in Canada is Vancouver, British Columbia. Vancouver is easily the most beautiful city in Canada. With mountains to the north, the Pacific Ocean to the west, and the enormous Stanley Park right downtown, the city's landscapes are jaw-droppingly gorgeous. Whether you're exploring the beaches in Kitsilano, meandering the trails of Pacific Spirit Park by the University of British Columbia campus, or cycling along the seawall downtown, there are plenty of ways to enjoy Vancouver's natural beauty. Many of Vancouver's neighborhoods are easily walkable, and there are hidden gems around virtually every corner. Granville Island features its famous market laden with all kinds of goodies, and Main Street is a foodie's paradise, with restaurants serving the best local fare. It's tough to see the entire city in one visit, but it's sure fun trying to do it all. Number 1 on the list of best cities to visit in Canada is Toronto, Ontario. The capital of Ontario, the largest city in Canada, and the city that attracts the most visitors in the entire country, there's a lot to be said for Toronto, a bustling city of almost 3 million people, which is why it earned the top spot on this list. First, there are the infamous Toronto landmarks. You can't mention Toronto without thinking of the iconic CN Tower, and many tourists take the time to visit popular destinations like Toronto Island, Casa Loma, and the Toronto Zoo as well. There are world-famous museums, like the Art Gallery of Ontario, the AGO, and the Royal Ontario Museum, the ROM, and other major attractions like the Hockey Hall of Fame in Nathan Phillips Square. Then, there are the sports teams. Toronto hosts the most professional sports teams in the entire country, 7 in total, and you don't have to be a rabid sports fan to enjoy taking in a game. But most Torontonians would argue that the major attractions aren't what make Toronto the best city in Canada, it's the diverse neighborhoods located throughout the city, each a microcultural hub with unique restaurants, shops, and parks. From Little Italy to Chinatown to the Danforth, you can experience food from around the world by hopping from neighborhood to neighborhood. So, which is your favorite Canadian city among the top 10 best cities to visit in Canada? While you may have some Canadian cities on your travel list, the search for a perfect destination for your much-awaited Canada trip is never easy. Well, that's all we have for you today. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the content of this video, click the subscribe button so you can receive more content like this. Post your favorite Canadian cities among the 10 best cities to visit in Canada in the comments below. I'd love to read them and I'm sure others would too.